This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, Rabbi Sai. Baruch Mabam. Welcome everyone. Parshas Noach. Only the second Shiur of the season, Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach. We're going to begin with a number of questions. We're going to examine many things that we're all familiar with, but try to look at it in a new light and come up with something a little bit different. The pasuk, the Parsha begins, Eila Toldois Noach. These are the children of Noach. Noach ish tzaddik. Okay, the first question is, why does it say his name twice? Eila Toldois Noach. Noach. I got it the first time. I chapped. I know his name is Noach. Noach. No, I heard. His name is Noach. We got that. Let's move on. Why does it have to say his name again? Then the pasuk says, Tamim haya b'dayraisav. He is wholesome in his generations. What does that mean? He only lived in one generation. So why does it say Lashon Rabim? It should say Tamim haya b'dayrai. In his generation, what's dayraisav? You can only live in one generation at a time. As far as I know, how could you live in two generations at a time? Okay, then. Even though in the beginning of the Parsha, just reading this pasuk, it says a lot of nice things about Noach. Noach is tzaddik, tamim haya. It sounds like Noach's a pretty good guy. But if you read the last psukim of last week's Parsha, you get a completely different story. If you look at the end of Parshas Bereshis, the Rebbe says, "Vayirma Hashem, emches ha'adam asher barasi me'al pnei adama." I'm going to wipe out man that I created on the face of the earth. Me'adam ad behema. Ad remes, I'm going to wipe out all the men, all the animals, all the birds, all the fish. Kinichamti ki asisim, I regret creating man. What about this Noach guy? V'Noach matzachem b'nei Hashem. Noach is not too great either. Noach's not better than anybody else. It's just that Noach found favor in the eyes of God. In fact, the Gemara says in Masechta Sanhedrin, Tanid Bei Rabbi Shmuel, number 3 on your sheets. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Ches. Af al Noach nechtach gezardin. The decree really devolved on Noach as well. In other words, Rebbe Shalom really decreed that Noach should also be wiped out. Ela shematzachein, but he found favor in the eyes of Hashem. Shenemar nichamti ki asisim v'Noach matzachein be'enei Hashem. So the question is, it's a little bit of a contradiction, because at the end of Parshas Bereshis, it seems to say Noach was not that great of a guy. The only thing is, he found favor in the eyes of Hashem. Hashem liked him. And in the beginning of Noach, it says Noach's a tzaddik, Noach's a tamim. Make up your mind. Is Noach a good guy? Not a good guy. Did he deserve being saved? Did he not deserve being saved? The end of Bereshis implies he really wasn't so great. He was just matzachin b'nei Hashem. The beginning of Noach, no. Noach's a tzaddik, Noach's a tamim. And Bechlal, in general, what in the world does it mean? Noach found favor in the eyes of Hashem. What does that mean to find favor in the eyes of Hashem? I understand, sometimes a kid is not doing well in school. Really, you should give the kid a 57 on the test. But the teacher thinks the kid's a cute kid. The teacher thinks the kid is for some reason, the teacher likes the kid, and the teacher figures out a way to pass the kid. But there's Rebbeinu Shalom. What the Rebbeinu Shalom like Noach's tie? Really, Noach was supposed to get killed. Really, Noach, there was a gzeira on him. But he was matzachin b'nei Hashem. Why was he matzachin b'nei Hashem? What does that mean to be matzachin b'nei Hashem? With Rebbeinu Shalom, isn't it black and white? There's no masui panim. There's no favoritism. There's no nepotism. There are no connections. Either you deserve it or you don't deserve it. What does it mean, Noach matzachin b'nei Hashem? Okay. If you look at the end of Parshas Bereshis, there's a very interesting pasuk, and the Gemara asks a very unusual question. Gemara Masechta Chulin is talking about a number of different personalities in Tanakh, and where they're alluded to in the Chumash. The Gemara talks about Mordechai minat Torah minayin, Esther minat Torah minayin, Haman minat Torah minayin. Where in the Torah is there an allusion to these personalities? And then the Gemara asks it seems like a strange question. Moshe minat Torah minayin. Where is there an allusion in the Torah to Moshe? Where is there an allusion in the Torah to Moshe? Allusion. It says his name like 200 times. What kind of allusion? Actually, it says his name like 613 times. What do you mean, where is there an allusion to Moshe? Where is there no allusion to Hashem in the Torah? Allusion? It says Hashem's name in every other pasuk. Why do you need an allusion to Moshe? I mean, you ever open up Sefer Shemos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, or Devarim? What do you need an allusion to Moshe for? But that's the Gemara's question. And the answer seems to be even more unusual. Says the Gemara in Chulin, number 5 on your sheet, Daf Kuflam Etesam Beis, Moshe min HaTorah minayin, b'shegam hu basar. Although he's flesh. How is that an allusion to Moshe? First of all, take a look at number 6. The pasuk says at the end of Sefer Bereshis, Vayomer Hashem, Hashem said, Lo yadoin ruchi ba'adam lo'ilam. I can't deal with man forever. B'shegam hu basar, even though he's flesh. V'hayu yamav me'av esrim shana. Let his years be 120 years. How is this a remez to Moshe Rabbeinu? You see Moshe Rabbeinu's name here? I don't see his name. Where in this pasuk is there a remez to Moshe Rabbeinu? So Rashi on the spot in Masechta Chulin says, if you look at the word bishagam, a beis is 2, a shin is 300, a gimel is 3, a mem is 40, 345, begamatria Moshe. So where is there a remez to Moshe in the word bishagam? I mean, why we need a remez to Moshe? Also seems unusual. But the word bishagam is gematria Moshe, 345. And the pasuk continues. And this Moshe, you know how long he's going to live? V'hayu yamav me'av esrim shana. He's going to live 120 years. Which, by the way, we don't need a remez to. It says in the Torah, Moshe lived 120 years. But this, according to the Gemara in Chulin, is the remez to Moshe Rabbeinu. Bishagam is 345. And this individual who lived 345 years, this guy whose gematria is 345, he lived 120 years. Very unusual. And even more unusual is, why is Moshe alluded to when the Rebbeinu Shem is going to destroy the world? In other words, we're trying, where's Moshe in the Chumash? So maybe the question is, where is he in Sefer Bereshis? You know the answer is, when the Rebbeinu Shem wants to flood the world, that's where Moshe is. In the pasuk that Hashem says, I can't take it anymore. These men, these human beings, they're a bunch of B'nai Adam, I can't handle them anymore. The Rebbeinu Shem, b'shegam hu bas, there's Moshe. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu alluded to in the pasuk where the Rebbeinu Shem wants to destroy mankind? I'm going to tell you a Rashi. Everybody knows this Rashi. This is like one of the most famous Rashis in Chumash. We know the teva that Noach made, he lined it with tar on the inside and the outside. Right? V'chafarta isa mibayis u'michutz ba koifer. And when Moshe Rabbeinu was put in the box, his mother only vatachmara b'chemer v'azaf, she only lined it on the outside. So Rashi is bothered by a question. Why Noach teva is lined with tar, cement on both sides, and Moshe's box is only lined with tar on the outside? So Rashi says, number 8, Rashi, Perek, Vav, Pasuk, Yodalet, B'tevasa shel Moshe, by the teva of Moshe, because the water was calmer, so it was enough to line it with chaymer only on the outside. And also, Hashem didn't want the tzaddik to have to smell the bad smell on the inside, so it only did on the outside. But by Noach, it was a very nasty storm. It was a bad storm, you could say. And therefore, it needed tar on both sides. Someone tell me, what's Rashi bothered by? All of a sudden, Rashi has a kasha. Why was the teva lined on the inside and outside with cement, but Moshe's box wasn't? These are the only 2 boxes ever made in the history of man. All of a sudden, there are only 2 boxes ever made. And Rashi can't understand, why was the teva lined on the inside, but there was another box that was only on the outside? Yeah, and also when I delivered a package the other day, I only put tape on the outside. Rashi's not bothered by that. When I had an order from Zappos, I had to return it, I only put the tape on the outside. I guarantee you there have been a lot of boxes in history. There are a lot of boxes. I mean, go outside, go to any garbage can, there are a lot of boxes. No, why didn't Rashi ask, but the Titanic was made differently than the Teva? I have a kasha. But what's Rashi bothered by? Rashi, I don't understand the Teva because Moshe's box was made differently. Who cares? What's Moshe's box? I mean, Moshe's box was one person. Noach's box, you had him, his whole family, you had every animal in the world. You have a kasha why one box is different from the other box. What does Moshe's box got to do with Noach's box? What was Noach? He was a tzaddik. You know any tzaddikim? I don't. What's a tzaddik? Was there anyone in the entire Chumash called a tzaddik other than Noach? And the answer is no. Not one person in the whole Torah is called a tzaddik. Not Avram Avinu, not Adam Rishon, not Yitzchak, not Yaakov, not Moshe, not even David HaMelech. Nowhere is David called a tzaddik, not even Shlomo HaMelech. There's only one other person in the history of Tanakh who was ever called a tzaddik. Yosef. Yosef. Where was Yosef called a tzaddik? In Sefer Amos. In Sefer Amos, it says, Pasuk says like this. Hashem said there were 3 sins, and the 4th sin I cannot overlook. The 4th sin is you sold a tzaddik for money. Which tzaddik did we sell for money? Yosef. So in the history of Tanakh, there are only 2 people called tzaddik. Who are they? Noach and Yosef. Says the Medrash, what makes a person a tzaddik? How do you become a tzaddik? If you learn a lot? No, it doesn't make you a tzaddik. You give a lot of tzedakah? What's a tzaddik? You fast? Sunday through Friday? How do you become a tzaddik? Says the Medrash, there's only one way to become a tzaddik. And therefore there are only 2 people in the whole Tanakh who ever were a tzaddik. Who are they? Says the Medrash, you know why Noach is a tzaddik? Al shazan bri Yosef shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because he sustained and fed the world. There are only 2 people called tzaddik because they fed others. Noach and Yosef. Yosef also fed the whole world. Yosef hu amashvir l'cholam haaretz. By the way, there's one other individual in Tanakh called tzaddik, but he's not a person. Hashem. Tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachav. You know why? Poisech es yadecha umasbiya l'chol chai ratzain. Hashem feeds everyone. Tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachav. That's a tzaddik. Interesting how the only 2 people ever to be called tzaddik are Noach and Yosef. Let's talk about another attribute. Chen. Right? You ever hear that expression? Yeah. Abachinta, right? It's chen. What's chen? Charm, grace. How many people in Tanakh were matzah chen? Noach at the end of Parshas. V'hinoach matzah chen b'nei Hashem. Noach was matzah chen. Who else was matzah chen? Yosef was matzah chen. Look at number 11. Vayimtza Yosef chen be'einav. Who else was matzah chen? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Hashem said to Moshe, V'yata amarta yidaticha v'shem v'gam matzah chen be'einai. So very interesting, first of all, that there are only 2 people who are called tzaddik. Who are they? Noach and Yosef. There are only 3 people who are matzah chen. Noach, Yosef, Moshe. And for some odd reason, Rashi's bothered. If Noach's teva looked like this, then why did Moshe's teva look differently? What does one teva got to do with the other? Okay, so I want to tell you a shocking idea, an unbelievable idea. This is not for the faint-hearted. If you have any health issues, maybe you could come to a different shiur. This is for the strong-hearted. And we have to know 2 principles. The first principle is, even before any introduction, there's a concept of Gilgulim. Which, by the way, how many times is it mentioned in the Gemara? 0. In fact, there's even a Rashash, I believe in Masechta Bava Metzia, on the Gemara, Baruch ata b'vayecha, Baruch ata b'tzeisecha. The Rashash says, this Gemara implies like those who say there's something called Gilgal. The Rashash is mashma that there are those who say there is no such thing as Gilgalim. I once heard somebody ask Avigdor Miller about Gilgalim. He said, it's not mentioned in the Gemara, and therefore we don't talk about it. So why are we talking about it? Because it is mentioned in many Svarim, especially the Svarim of the Chidah and the Svarim of the Chassam Sofer. So on the simple level of learning Chumash, it's not something that you deal with. But when you scratch beneath the surface, it's something to think about, and something not necessarily to start worrying, whose Gilgal am I, which person, what's my tikkun. It's just to be aware of the amkos of the Torah, that how every detail of the Torah, even though you may not understand what it's there for and what its purpose is, but in the cheshbonos of the Borei Olam, certain things need to be accomplished in this world, and in light of the concept of Gilgulim, sometimes these ideas become more understandable. So the Arizal gives us the following principle: that it's possible to come back as a Gilgal. The first time around you're called an Av, and the second time around you're called a Ben. That's the first idea. And here's the second idea. Try to brace yourselves. Noach came back to this world 2 times. Who did he come back as? Number 1, Yosef, and number 2, Moshe Rabbeinu. Noah in the ark, remember him? He came back 2 times. Yosef HaTzadik. Oh, now I understand. The 2 people called Tzadik. Noach is Tzadik, Yosef HaTzadik. And he came back as Moshe Rabbeinu. Says the Chidah, now I understand the end of Bereshis. Now I understand the beginning of Noach. Now I understand why Noach was Matzah Chen B'nei Hashem. Ask the Chidah, I don't understand. If Noach did not deserve to live, so how did he find favor in the eyes of Hashem? You know how he found favor in the eyes of Hashem? Because Rebbeinu Shalom needed 2 people to come out of him. Who's that? Yosef and Moshe. Now look carefully at the Psukim. You look at the end of Bereshis and then the beginning of Noach. Hashem said, I need to destroy all of mankind. I, Noach, v'Noach motzachin b'nei Hashem. Noach found favor. Why? Because Eila Toldois. Because he has 2 Gilgulim that will come out of him. Eila Toldois. These will be his products. Who are they? 2. Noach. They're going to be 2 products that come out of Noach. Noach A, Noach B. Who's Noach A? Ish Tzadik. Who's the Ish Tzadik? Yosef. Who's Noach B? Tamim. Who is the greatest Tamim in history? Moshe Rabbeinu. How many generations do they live in? Bidei Doiroi Sav. 2 generations. Says the Chidah, that's how you read the pasuk. Okay? Again. V'Noach motzachin b'nei Hashem. Noach found favor. Why? Because Eila told us. He has products. He has Gilgulim. How many? Noach. 2. Who are they? Number 1, Ish Tzadik, Yosef HaTzadik. Number 2, Tamim Haya, Moshe Rabbeinu. How many generations? B'doy Roisav. What evidence is there that Yosef was a Gilgal of Noach? Well, the Rama Mipano, Ramanacham Azariah, wrote a Sefer Gilgulei Neshamas. We've quoted from it in the past. The Rama Mipano writes, in what way did Yosef rectify Noach? Well, we know Noach comes out of the table. What's the first thing he does? He makes a little kiddush. He plants, right? He plants the vineyard. He makes Bar Priagafen. So he became drunk. How does Yosef rectify that? Chazal say Yosef did not drink wine as long as he was separated from his brothers, and not until they were all together in Mitzrayim. Vayesh vayishkaru imai. So Yosef, by refraining from yayin, was masaking the ched of Noach, of Ayochel Noach Ishu Adam. So again, here's an evidence, here is an opinion that Yosef HaTzadik was the Gilgal of Noach. In fact, the Arizal writes explicitly in Shar HaPsukim. You ready for this? Let's take the word Yosef. Any Yosefs here besides David Yosef? Any Yosefs? Daniel Yosef. Only 2? So, nothing to be embarrassed of. It's okay. We have 2. Okay. What is the numerical value of Yosef? Yud, Vav, Samach, Pei. What? 156. Very good. 156. What is special about 156? 6 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. 6 times. That's why the 6th Aliyah is a Chashv Aliyah. It's Keneged Yosef. Yaakov is Gematria what? 182. 7 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yitzchak is 208. 8 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay, but Yosef is 156. What's the numerical value, right? By Ashkenazim, they just donate money. They're not into Ben 101. By the Sfardim, right, they give Ben, right? What's the gematria of Ben? 52. 52. What's 3 times Ben? Yosef. 156. Yosef is 3 times Ben. That's why Noach, who's Yosef, Vayoyled Noach Shloisha Banim. Noach had 3 Banim. Ben, 52. Ben, 104. Ben, 156. That's what that Arizal says. That's another, more evidence that, in fact, Yosef was the Gilgal of Noach. Noach has 3 Bens. Okay. Comes the Chida in another Sefer, Midbar Kedemos, and the Chida points out an amazing thing. If you look at all the generations, Adam, followed by Shes, followed by Enosh, followed by Canaan, followed by Mahalalel, followed by Yored, followed by Chanoich, and Mesushelach, Lemech, and Noach. So it says, Vayechi Adam, Vayoyled, if you look at the end of Bereshit, Vayoyled, who did Adam give birth to? Shes. Vayechi Shes, Vayoyled Enosh. Vayechi Enosh, Vayoyled Mahalalel, Canaan. Vayechi Canaan, Vayoyled Mahalalel. Vayechi Mahalalel, Vayoyled Yored. Vayechi Yored, Vayoyled Chanoich. Vayechi Chanoich, Vayoyled Mesushalach. Vayechi Mesushalach, Vayoyled Lamech. Vayechi Lamech, Vayoyled Ben. Hey, why doesn't the kid have a name? Well, he was in the NICU, he couldn't have a name yet? Well, why doesn't the kid have a name? Vayikra Shema Noach. By all the other boys, it says, they gave birth to the name. Vayoyled Mahalala, Vayoyled Canaan, Vayoyled Mesushalach, Vayoyled Yored. Not by Noach. By Noach, Vayoyled, it says by his father Lamech, Vayoyled Bain, Vayikra Shema Noach. It says that Arizal, you can look it up. It's in the Sefer Likutei Torah. It didn't make it to the sheet. Chida quotes it. That when the Tzaddik Hadar has the power through his tefillos to break down all the klipos in the world, all the forces of Tumah. And every generation has a Tzaddik. Mesushelach was the Tzaddik. But as soon as Noach was born, Mesushelach lost all power. Because Noach was the next Tzaddik. His father was therefore worried that if my son Noach is the next Tzaddik, it's going to create Ayin Hara. So I'm not giving him a name yet. His father held off giving him a name to avoid Ayin Hara. That's what that Arizal writes. Okay. Then, the Chida brings down that the name Noach is not the name that Lamech gave him. You know what name Lamech gave him? Gave him Yenachem. Not Noach, not Menachem. Any Menachems here?
My middle name is Menachem.
His middle name is Menachem. Any Yenachems here? I guarantee you're not. You don't even know anyone named Yenachem. His father named him Yenachem. Why? Yosef, Noach, Moshe. Mr. Shelach said, just cut the Yud and the Mem. Nobody needs to know all those secrets. Just call him Noach. Call them, fine. Listen carefully. So who was Noach? Moshe and Yosef. Moshe is how much? What's the numerical value of Moshe? No? 345. What's the numerical value of Yosef? 156. What is 345 and 156? 345 and 156. Close. 501, even better. 501. Eile Toldois Noach Noach. Rashi Tevos Aleph Taf Nun Nun. 501. Eile Toldois Noach Noach. Aleph Taf Nun Nun. 501. Moshe Yosef. You want to know Eile Toldois Noach Noach? You want to know who the 2 Toldois of Noach are? Moshe and Yosef. 501. The word Asher, Aleph Shin Resh, is 501, yeah? Paro says, Mi Hashem Asher Eshma B'Kodlai. Me, Moshe Yosef. Asher, 501. You want to know when I'm going to listen to Hashem? If you could get Moshe and Yosef together, then I'll listen to Hashem. Okay, this is all the Chida. So again, another indication that Noach was not just Noach. Noach was then Yosef. Yosef corrected Noach's fault of drinking. Moshe, we'll see, why did he have to come back as Moshe? What did Moshe need to correct? But that's the idea. You want to know Noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem? Why did Noach find favor in the eyes of Hashem? Because Eila told us he had descendants. Who are they? 2. Noach. Who were they? Ish Tzadik, Tamim. There are two things that Noach was guilty of. If you look in Sefer Yeshaya from this week's Haftarah, Ki mei Noach zoisli. The Mabul is called the waters of Noach. The waters of Noach. Why are we blaming Noach for the Mabul? But the Navi Yeshaya says, you know whose fault the Mabul was? Noach's fault. The Zohar says, why was it Noach's fault? He should have davened for them. Here it starts raining, so what does he do? He runs in the teva. He should have said, Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Aslichana, help these poor souls. He should have davened for the people. He should have rebuked the people. If you're a rabbi, you can't be afraid to give musar. You're afraid you're going to lose the job? If you're going to lose it, you lose it even if you don't give the musar. If you give the musar, maybe they'll like you. It's the only shot you have. Noach should have given musar to the people. He didn't. He didn't rebuke the people. So the Noach is blamed with the Mabul. He made Noach zoisli. Moshe Rabbeinu has to correct both of these things. He has to be mispalo and he has to be moichiach. So you know what Moshe Rabbeinu does? Hashem comes to Moshe and he says, Moshe, I need to destroy Klal Yisrael. Look at number 20. V'ata hanichali. Moshe, stop it already. V'yicharapi b'hem, let me get angry at them. V'achaleim, I'll destroy them. I'll make you a great nation. Like who? Who else in history did Hashem basically say that to? This is talking to Moshe Rabbeinu. Who else? This week's Parsha is not Parshas Avram. Parshas Noach. That's basically Parshas Noach. Hashem said, Noach, you go in the teva, and I'll make a new world from you. That's what Noach made a mistake. He should have davened. No, don't make a new nation from me. Save the people on planet Earth. Don't make a new nation from me. But the offer to Moshe is the direct parallel to the offer made to Noach. The offer to Noach is, you go jump in the box, and I'll save you. So Hashem says the same thing to Moshe Rabbeinu. I'll destroy everyone else, make a nation out of you. So what does Moshe say? Moshe corrects the problem of Noach. What was Noach's fault? He didn't daven. Therefore, he didn't daven. What is the Mabul called? Mei Noach. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? Look at number 17. V'yata and tisa chatasam Ribbono Shel Olam. Either bear their sin. V'emayin mecheni. Says the Arizal. Mecheni are the letters Mei Noach. Noach didn't daven. Noach didn't rebuke. So therefore, the Mabul, it's his fault. The Mabul is called Mei Noach. Moshe Rabbeinu rectifies the Mei Noach by saying, Ribbono Shel Olam, if you don't save the Jewish people, mecheni, wipe me out of the book. I don't want my name mentioned. Just thought, maybe, get me out of here. Remove me from the book. It's like if your name's in the white pages, you don't want it in, you call up, you pay money. Moshe Rabbeinu says, take my name out of the book. I don't want to get phone calls, I don't want nothing. I thought maybe that's why the Gemara asks, Moshe min ha-Torah minayin, where would there have been a remez to Moshe Rabbeinu if he would have been wiped out? So the Gemara says, you're right. He could have easily been wiped out of the book. The remez is by the Mei Noach. The Mei Noach is what kept him in the book. You want to know why there's Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was Masakein Mei Noach. How? By saying Mecheni. Ribbono Shel Olam, I'm not falling for this again. Last time you said, I fell for it. I didn't daven, I wasn't Mochiach. This time around, Ribbono Shel Olam, if you don't save them, wipe me out of the book. Why was the Mabul pushed off? Hashem pushed off the Mabul from coming, how long? 120 years. Why 120? In the Zchus of Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem delayed it. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu alluded to in the Mabul? Because when the Mabul came to the world, it was Noach's fault, and the only way it was rectified is through the tefillos of Moshe Rabbeinu. When Moshe Rabbeinu came back, take two. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu was merumas in the pasuk b'shagam hu basak. So in the Sefer Shvilei Pinchas, Reb Pinchas Friedman, Rosh Koilem the Chasidei Belz, who happens to be in America right now, if anybody knows where. I heard that he spoke yesterday, but trying to find him. He says an amazing remez. By the teva of Noach, it was covered with tar on the inside, on the outside. Why? Because not only did the people on the outside need v'chafarta, need kapara, the people on the inside, Noach also need v'chafarta. He also needed kapara, because he didn't daven for them. He wasn't Mashiach them. But Moshe Rabbeinu, the kapara was only needed for the outside. Moshe Rabbeinu was good to go. Personally, Moshe Rabbeinu rectified everything he needed to. He did daven for the people. He was Mashiach the people. So there's also a very beautiful remez. Look at number 22. Vayomer Hashem l'Noach, Hashem said to Noach, Boy ata v'chol beischa la'teva, come into the teva. Ki oischa ra'isi tzadik lefanai. You're the only tzaddik that I see. Bador hazeh. What's the gematria of hazeh? 17. Says Rebbe Shem Noach, you don't deserve to be saved. But ki oischa ra'isi tzadik lefanai, I see a tzaddik bador hazeh in 17 generations. Who's 17 generations from Noach? Noach to Avram is 10. Then to Yitzchak, to Yaakov, to Levi, to Kahas, to Amram, to Moshe. So Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kahas, Amram, Moshe, 7 generations, 17. So Rebbe Shem is saying, Noach, get into the teva. I see a tzaddik coming in 17 generations. Badar Hazeh. So with this, the Sefer Shvilei Pinchas suggests, I'll ask you a question. Here you have Yocheved. She knows she has a little baby. The baby's in danger. The baby's life is in danger. Paro made a decree called Haben Hayilot Hayora Tashtichu. Every kid you got to throw into so you got to drown. So she's trying to hide the kid from Paro's soldiers. There's a house-to-house search. They're searching every house for kids. So what does Yocheved do? Oh, I got a brilliant idea. Let me put him in a box and send him off in the middle of the ocean. Wow, what a great idea how to save a kid. I mean, it's ludicrous. What are the chances? Imagine a mother don't know what to do with the kid, so she takes the kid, she puts him in a box, and she sends the kid off in the Atlantic Ocean. What kind of ridiculous plan is that? But that was Yocheved's plan. What kind of plan is that? Oh, you know how? Vatera oisoi ki toiv. She saw he was toiv. Toiv is how much? 17. He's 17 generations from Noach. Then maybe the same way Hashem said to Noach, come into the teva, because in 17 generations I see a tzaddik. This is the tzaddik of the 17th generation. I'm going to put him in a teva just like Noach was saved. So now Rashi's bothered by Akasha. If Yocheved is trying to utilize the exact same mode of salvation that Noach used, because after all, this is Noach, then why wouldn't she make the teva exactly like Noach's teva? Why wouldn't there be tar on the inside and the end? That's why Rashi's bothered by Akasha. Not just because these happen to be the only two boxes in history. This is Noach, and this is how Noach was saved. So if you're going to make a teva and save the kid like Noach, then you got to make Noach's ark. That's why Rashi's bothered. Why is this teva different than Noach's teva? Yosef HaTzadik, by the way, he's also put in a box in the water. 3 people in history, they're put in a box in the water, right? Noach, Yosef, and Moshe. Yosef needs to come out of Mitzrayim. Who's interested in taking his bones out? Aaron HaKohen. You say, no, he's a Kohen. Who's interested? Kalev ben Yefune, Anashim ben Aminad, Moshe. Why Moshe? Moshe had nothing better to do. Moshe is a busy man. I'm sure he could delegate the job to somebody else. Can't trust anybody with your bones. This is Noach, Yosef, Moshe. So Moshe is the one. Vayikach Moshe, Adam is Yosef, Imai. Okay. But the Arizal's Megala, another amazing thing. And the Arizal's Megala, that the whole Dor HaMabul that was destroyed, because Noach wasn't Mispalel and Noach wasn't Noichiach, it came back again. When did it come back? The Dor Mitzrayim. Klal Yisrael Mitzrayim were the Dor HaMidbar. That's why, just like the Dor HaMidbar, there was a Gzeira. What? Just like in the Dor HaMabul, there's a Gzeira of Mayim. That's why the Dar Mitzrayim kol haben hayilod hayara tashlichu. That's why they were going to throw every boy into the water. Why? Take two. The first time everyone's going to go in the water, and Noach should have davened. Noach should have been Mochiach. He didn't. It's called Mei Noach. Second time around, the generation's going to be thrown into the water. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, not so fast. Mecheni nami sifracha. Moshe Rabbeinu rebukes. Moshe Rabbeinu is mispalel. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't rest on his laurels. Moshe Rabbeinu is Noach, but the second time around he fixed the problem. Hashem comes to Moshe. By the way, what's his name? Moshe. Why? Ki min hamayim meshisihu. He was saved from the water. When was he saved from the water? Noach. Ki min hamayim meshisihu. Not just now, she happened to take the boy out of the Yam Suf. It's not the first time. This is the kind of person, Ki min hamayim, he's always being plucked out of the water. Hashem comes to Moshe and says, Moshe, you're the man for the job. He said, me? Right? And that's why it's become the classic Jewish response. You ask somebody, me? Not a speaker. Not a speaker. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm not a man of words. Gam itmol, not yesterday. Gam mishilshaim, not the day before. Gam even from a long time ago, I was never a big speaker. What do you mean even a long time ago? This is the first time the Rosh Hashanah said boo to Moshe Rabbeinu. What's Moshe Rabbeinu saying? You know, I've never been a speaker even from the first time you spoke to me. What do you mean? I never met you before. Hashem never said a word to Moshe. This is the first meeting. This is the first encounter by the Sneh. What's Moshe Rabbeinu saying? I wasn't even a speaker the first time you spoke to me. You know what that was referring to? The first time Hashem told Noach, go in the Teva, Noach should have been a speaker. He should have gotten up, gone on whatever camera they had, and said, you guys either shape up or ship out. And don't come on my ship. He should have given them Musar. He wasn't a speaker. Kvad peh u kvad loshoin. Kvad peh. I didn't rebuke. Kvad loshoin. I didn't daven. Not since a long time ago. For hundreds of years already I'm not a speaker, Moshe says. Hashem says, that's why you're the man for the job. You're right, you're not a speaker. You weren't a speaker. This time around, you're going to become a speaker. This time around, you're going to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim and you're going to give them the Torah. That's why Hashem says, Mi sam pela adam yasam ilem. Listen to me. Anochi ayem picha v'risicha shetadaber. When Moshe gives the Torah to Klal Yisrael, he's rectifying the sin of Noach. He's turning Mei Noach into Mecheni Nami Sifracha. Interesting, the Medrash says, number 31. So the beginning of Sefer Devarim, there's a pasuk in Mishlei. Meichiach Adam Acharai, one who rebukes a person to follow Hashem, Yimtza Mimachalik Lashach. Excuse me. Chin Yimtza will find favor. It's a big chiddush. You would think that if you tell somebody, you're good, it's okay. It's okay you come late to davening. It's okay. It's okay you talk. As long as you come, everything's okay. You would think, you're going to be very popular. Everyone's going to love you. No, nobody's going to like you. You want to be popular? Be Mashiach people. So you say, I tried that. Doesn't work. You have to know how to do it. You want chen? The pasuk says, Mashiach adam acharai. If you rebuke people to follow Hashem, chen yimtza, you'll find favor. Mimachlik lashon, even more than someone who just sweet talks. So the Medrash asks, who is the rebuker over here in this pasuk? Who is he rebuking? And when did he find favor? So the Medrash says, the rebuker is Moshe. The person he rebuked is Klal Yisrael. And the favor he found is the Gam Atzasa Chen De'inai. So Rabbi say, this wraps it up. The Parsha begins, Eila told us, you want to know why Noach was Matzachein? Nothing he did. It's because who was destined to come out of him. Two great people were destined to come out. Noach. Who are these two people? Number one is the Ish Tzadik, Yosef HaTzadik. Number two, the Tamim, Moshe Rabbeinu. 2 generations. In their merit, Noach found favor in the eyes of Hashem. Where is Moshe Rabbeinu alluded to in the Torah? By the Mabul. The Mabul was Noach's fault B'shagam basa, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come and correct the main Noach by saying Mecheni na. In the meantime, the Mabul is postponed 120 years. The first time around, Noach is saved in a teva. So Yocheved says, if Noach was saved in the teva, because in 17 generations, if in 17 generations the tzaddik will come, then I'm going to try the same thing to little baby Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki toiv, he's a 17th generation. Elamai, why was there no kaifer on the inside? If she's trying to use the same type of table, why is there no tar? The answer is because Noach needed kapara for himself. He needed kapara on the inside as well. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he's going to rectify the kvad peh not being Mashiach. He's going to rectify the kvad lashon not being mispalel. And ultimately, Yosef HaTzadik, Moshe Rabbeinu are the ones who rectify the sin of Noach, the shortcoming of Noach. And the purpose is just that we should know. Every single detail you see in the pasuk, every word, every letter, every crown, every nakuda, every trop, there's a reason for it. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. But this is one of the, sometimes, what's happening here? What's going on? Why him? Why now? Why this? There's a lot behind the scenes. A lot more than we don't know than we know. This is just scratching the surface. I wish everyone a wonderful evening. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.